This is Forza Motorsport. We're here on Xbox Series S. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is the reboot, the revitalization, and a fresh start for the Motorsport franchise, something that has always technically pushed just what the Xbox consoles can do, and with the Series S, that is of course the situation that you would expect again, right? So this is supposed to be a long-term motorsport effort where they're going to continuously update and enhance things over time. But here for the launch, what we're getting on the Series S is two different visual options. So these are things that you adjust from the main menu of the game. It's locked if you try to change things. There's a photo mode too. But you go to video and you have the option of performance or visuals. You switch between them. The next race will be a, visuals race, so you can see how that looks in action. So for performance mode, it's a dynamic 1080p at 60 FPS. It does not have any form of ray tracing in basically any of the regular play modes. The visuals mode is 1440p, again dynamic, at 30 FPS, and once again no ray tracing. Strangely enough, cinematics are tied to 1080p 30 FPS. Then there's the garage and car showcase area, which will match whatever quality or performance mode you've chosen. The only difference there is that you will have some level of ray tracing applied. So technically there is ray tracing in this for the Series S, but it's only in like the car show, so it's not really, a true ray tracing effect in the tracks or anything like that. So let's talk a bit about the performance mode. I mean, obviously you can tell full levels of geometry are present, but for me this is quite a bit murkier than what I'm used to on the Series X side of things. A little bit more jaggedy around some of the edge elements. Like it's the full experience. The cars look nice, the tracks look nice. It is that full experience in regards to quality. It's just, toned down a little bit. But let's dive into the next race as we continue to talk further. So as I had mentioned, we did switch over here so that you can see the quality mode where, once again, dynamic 1440p, 30 FPS. So you do get a much cleaner resolution experience in regards to how the vehicle looks, and the world itself looks a lot more detailed and kind of aesthetically appealing in that regard. But the lower frame rate is a questionable sort of thing for a racing game, but as I mentioned, totally up to you and what you want from your experience. So the usual things apply here in regards to the gameplay. You've got your rewind system, you got your photos, you got a bunch of different camera angles in regards to racing along, and you can kind of set it up to be whatever you want it to be with whatever settings you'd like, and you can make it as difficult or as easy as you'd like it to be. Lots of accessibility options are present within this one. I should also mention that we have HDR support, VRR support, which is variable refresh rate. There is also spatial sound, Dolby Atmos, and DTS:X for audio options. Fully supported and ready to go for this racing experience. You get 20 all-new, entirely refreshed, rescanned locations for tracks, a wide range of different maps, with just a bazillion different levels of weathering that you can have appear for whatever condition you'd like to have. So with the tracks, I do want to mention that some personal favorites were missing, but with this being a long-term game, I would imagine we'll see stuff like that. But things like the Bernese Alps, Prague, Rio, the Dubai level, there, to me, quite a few levels were missing. Let's switch back to the performance mode at this point. So yeah, the tracks themselves really do offer a sense of wear and tear. The idea here is that no two laps are the same. So you're essentially kind of seeing the track get torn, the weathering to be different, the cars and the damage and the way they impact the race every single lap to change up what exactly is going on. And I think that's a really nice touch in regards to making, everything feel unique. So there is a little bit of a limited selection, and it does seem like they really focused on realistic circuit locations for this launch, but I am hoping, like I said, that things get a little bit more expanded afterwards, because I feel like there's so many more tracks and locations that I'd really love to see over time. And talking about weathering, they've got just an incredible level of detail, from like foggy areas to variable weather where you see like the weather changing live over the course of a match. Random weather that you can choose. Sometimes it's rainy, sometimes it's storming. And then the time of day too completely changes things as well. Night racing, early morning, afternoon, early morning, early morning. But yeah, you just get this huge variation of just basically how you race and how you interact with the race. Then there's something like over 500 cars, 100 of them brand new to the Forza franchise, and then you can tune cars a lot further as well. So I should also actually mention quickly multiplayer up to 24 players, because there is competitive multiplayer stuff, but we'll talk further about that. I just like to get the specs out of the way as fast as I can. But yeah, with the tuning aspect, there's something like over 800 different tuning elements for your vehicles. So this game has a career mode, which honestly, I'm more of like a quick play type player. But, it is a way to do like cups and do like the trial races and the full racing. And, if you're into that thing, it's sort of like a grind out some parts and upgrade. And, you can fine tune your vehicles with the upgrades and the pieces and the parts that are there. If that's for you, that's for you. It's cool. So, that's one way to kind of go about it if you're interested in that sort of aspect of the game. If you'd like to do that, that's totally present for you, and it'll provide some extra gameplay value if you want to spend time, basically fine-tuning your vehicles. And, the usual stuff, painting the cars, there's the custom liveries that you can make or download where people, kind of create these... Oh, that corner always gets me. Gets those really cool custom designs that people make for vehicles that you can just download. And then there's fine tuning, like you can download, like there's tuning profiles and everything. So kind of the traditional setup you're used to, just really expanded upon some exciting ways that I think you're really gonna love if you want to dive in there and truly change up just how your vehicles handle and how they look, which is, rather exciting if you're into that sort of aspect of the game. But you can, of course, just play quick play and whatnot as per usual. And I'm trying my best to showcase as many different tracks as possible, which is making this a little bit choppier to go over, but that's kind of half the fun. But yeah, quick play, you can do things like time trials, the regular circuit racing options. You can really just kind of play it how you want. And then there's the online multiplayer, which has a selection of differing kind of like rotating competitions going on that you can kind of qualify for and earn rewards. And that seems to be a pretty effective and kind of varied way to offer you a lot of differing kind of multiplayer setups. Like there's the traditional multiplayer, but they've got this really neat, is the best I can describe it, sort of setup where you're able to very easily go in there, compete, and do some differing things against other players. Again, with pretty large lobbies, kind of a little bit more traditional in the sense of like old school competitions like we saw with the earlier Forza titles, and something like Project Gotham Racing, which is, PGR from back in the day, which is pretty cool. So yeah, you get a very, I guess you would say, robust in terms of a technical perspective. Well, it's a title, you've got the solid foundation of vehicles, tracks, and things to do. I do feel that maybe the career mode could have been a little bit more interesting or in-depth. And yeah, it's kind of like mostly a content game, I guess you would say. Like, there's a plenty amount of tracks that are present here at launch, and like I said, I'm sure it's going to grow over time, but yeah, I couldn't help but feel like a lot of favorites were kind of missing, and just a lot of different options. It feels like we almost scaled down when we revamp, but this is a really, truly solid, exciting foundation. Like, they've done some truly great upgrades to the way the cars handle, the way they play. you can get a lot more technical where it's like, if you're outside the line, you get like a time penalty. Like for those that want more of a realistic, more in-depth Forza, that's there. But those that want that same arcade style that you might, know and love as well, that's also present here. It's a little bit of something for almost everyone is the idea that they're going for with this title. So accessibility is the focus, allowing you to fine-tune the experience the whole way through. From the cars, to the difficulty, to how you play alone or with others, how the tracks react, how the tracks look, your control scheme, everything like that. It really is a robust, once again going back to that word setup. Oh wow, there's actually like a roller coaster to the side there. That is spectacular. And I think from a technical standpoint on the Series S, this is a pretty good racing effort. You get a decently looking visual option, and you get a running fine performance mode option, which, like I said, going for, performance is probably the ideal way to play this. It's just, it's a bit murkier and whatnot, but the full scale and everything is present here. So I would say this is actually a fine showcase of the Series S to a degree. And I think you'll have a pretty fine time playing it on the Series S. I mean, it is, murkier, like I've kind of mentioned, and you definitely see that a lot more with like the definition of, say, like the trees and the environment. If you're looking into that sort of thing, it is pushing boundaries a lot more on the Series X, but that's not to say that they don't have a lot of impressive tech under the hood for the Series S version of the game as well. It's just kind of like a scaled back sort of thing, which, if you've been playing on the Series S for a while, you're very likely used to that sort of thing. So it's the bells and the whistles, minus the high level of clarity. I don't know if you can see that really well, the trees there, but yeah, the trees definitely, you're noticing that there's not as much showcase depth within them, which again is helping us keep that performance level going smoothly, which is more important, I think, than environmental elements. But it really depends on what you're looking for, right? From a technical standpoint, what you're desiring and what you hope to see in this sort of experience. But it's the Forza you know and love. It's just been revamped, and I can't really wait to see what the long-term vision of this game is. Because we've got what I would really say is a very, very solid foundation to build upon. And I do wish we would have had a little bit stronger aspect in regards to the full launch scope of the game. But by the end of this, I'm sure we'll have a true vision of what they're going for in terms of scale and maps and the full Forza setup. It's going to be quite a journey, honestly. I'm so used to seeing these titles release frequently, right? You used to get one every other year, and now to be not necessarily stuck, but have the core focus of a singular motorsport game for a long time is going to be very interesting, and it's going to be just absolutely fascinating to see how much content we actually get added to this one over time, and to see how big and definitive this actually ends up by the final state of the product, and even to see whether this is going to be like a multi-generational thing. I'm really, really curious for the full end result of this particular package, that is for sure. But for now, we race on with what we have right off the bat. It's just really, really quite fascinating to be at this point of seeing this launch. Like, it is a true showcase of, like, current gen racing, right? We've had few titles, particularly racing-wise, that aim to fully take advantage of what these consoles can do. And while the Series S may not be the punchiest sort of thing, and I don't necessarily believe it's totally punching above its weight in this particular situation or setup for the game and for the console, it still is a pretty well performant scenario. It's something that few other racing games can provide in terms of scale and just like the wild variations of weathering and lighting and the car models and the way the cars themselves deteriorate and get damaged and scratched, and then the audio element beyond that of hearing the punchy aspect of these cars just kind of crunching and hitting each other in these competitive matches. It's all rather exciting to see. I think they got a lot of the core expected racing maps. Oh, I should have went for the classic routes that we didn't have to deal with the weird bumps. Ooh, the bumps are so weird. The bumps are so crazy, but I'm making it work. See, this one actually seems to handle the tree definition a little bit better. It's a lot of your mileage is going to vary depending on the scenario and what they've done to make sure that there's restrictions. I'm assuming this was kind of their main technical kind of bottleneck almost in regards to what they have to offer in this game. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all for the Ferrari. It's making me spin right out of there. But I don't necessarily think Series S owners are really... Like, you're not missing out on anything, right? I'm gonna have to rewind way further. I'm taking that corner way too fast. Like, every aspect of, like, the physics, the environment, everything that matters in this game from a racing perspective is fully provided on this platform. It's just like the visual type aspect of it for the Series S does look a little bit, I don't know, kind of aged. I mean, this is kind of far beyond what you'd be getting with, like, the Xbox One era. That is definitely for sure, right? Like, I guess visually it'd be kind of... actually, this sort of is sort of similar, right? Because it'd be like 1080-60, right, for the Forza Motorsport games. It's just you're getting a lot more physics stuff under the hood, and then you're getting the quality mode. Yeah, it's interesting on the Series S. It definitely is. I mean, it runs perfectly fine. It offers everything you would expect. It's just kind of like a thought process of them, pushing this console even harder and further is the biggest thing. But, I mean, if you want that fluidity, you still want that scope, and you don't want to deal with crazy amounts of pop-in, because there's a little bit more pop-in noticing, or it's a little bit more noticeable for me on the Series S version almost, but I think it's all hidden quite well, and you're not going to notice it. I mean, this is the similar resolution and frame rate that you're getting for most Series S games, and it could be a lot worse. It really could. It definitely could. So I think most of the owners for the Series S will be really happy with this one. Wow, my corners just struggling on those corners. It's killing me with these cars. Ugh, unbelievable, right? I don't know. You got all the tracks, you got all the cars, you got all the racing experiences. By the end, we're probably gonna have one stuffed Forza that you can enjoy on your Series S for many, many years, to get to that point. But for now, this is a fine starting point that you will enjoy racing, you'll enjoy the technical aspects of this, you will have a blast playing it, because at the end of the day, it's a motorsport, it's a Forza Motorsport, and it's got all the thrills, all the action, all the intensity, but with a setup where, like, literally every single race you do is completely unique, completely distinct, and fresh. And that's gonna really add to your replayability, the fact that every single time that you race across these areas, your experience is gonna vary a little bit. And that in itself is a golden standard to actually achieve for a racing game, because it just goes beyond the setup of what we've had in the past and just refines it in some really exciting, unique, and kind of thrilling ways. I really do feel like this is a pretty compelling racing offering. A little bit more so, honestly, on the Series X, visually and gameplay-wise, but on the Series S, yeah, not bad at all. This is a pretty good way to play this game. I think it handles more than fine, and I think you'll be genuinely kind of happy with what it has to offer. So good luck, and enjoy where dreams are driven.